this thing. Okay. So welcome back, everyone. It's Advanced iOS Development, this MAPD 724 in the winter 2022 semester at Centennial. And for week 13 and week 14, this week and next week, it's all about your final presentation. So the final presentation that we're going to be doing is based on your assignment 4 and 5. Okay, now I have seen everybody's assignment 4. So I've looked through all of them. Everyone's got a mark. Assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, it's all marked, right? All your in-class exercises are done. What I'm looking for, though, for some of you, and where some of you lost marks for the assignment, is all the pieces that I'm looking for. Please, guys, look through the requirements of your assignment 4 and 5 and make sure you hit all those requirements. Because remember, I'm looking for 2 frameworks, right? And you need a couple of things. You need a design document. Some people didn't include that when you submitted your things. I think it's been a requirement from like day 1 when it came to your assignments and so on. Some of the stuff that was there that I asked you to do, swatches and color and all that stuff, was missing from some of your stuff. So a little bit disappointed in from that perspective. But again, I mean, you know, for the most part, it was okay. You know, it was good. Most people hit the highlights. They got exactly what I asked them to do. They did their in-class, their user interface, which is good. And the pretty much most of the functionality was there from what I saw. Some people, though, they decided to do the user interface, but no functionality, right? So that is not what I was looking for assignment 4. However, I did give you as many marks as I could. Okay. What I'm looking for assignment 5, 4, and 5 is full functionality. Everything that I'm looking for. Your user interface has to be perfect, guys. Okay. I'm not looking for skewed images. What I've seen in the last over the last assignment was I had some skewed images that were like not proportioned properly, not big enough for the screen. You know, from the stuff that we've been talking about all semester, which is basically user experience, and not just for me, but even last semester we talked about this. You need to get to the point where the stuff that you're producing for your assignments, again, when I say perfect, I mean well apportioned. So, you know, think about the user interface. When the user takes a look at that interface, what does it look like? You know, is it usable? Try it yourself. Are you happy with it? If the answer is no, and you're kind of playing around as a prototype, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a final culminating assignment, something that you're going to be creating. That means you and your teammates, and some of you have like 3 and 4 people on your team, should be making that as pretty as possible. Good contrast for your backgrounds, for your apps, solid, you know, kind of a foundation of images, assets, everything that you're doing. When you're doing your back end, make sure that it hits the things that I'm looking for. Some kind of configuration change. You're going to save some kind of persistent data for your application and those kind of things. Now, there are also some great apps that I saw out there too. I'm not going to say, well, everything was doom and gloom. It wasn't actually like that at all. Most people did very well. But what I'm looking for your assignment 5 is course, like, you know, assignment complete. There should be nothing that's missing, okay, from your assignment for you to get maximum marks. That means at least 2 frameworks. Sometimes people can add additional things. You don't have to just stick to 2. There's sometimes people add more than 2 to make sure that the thing that you're trying to create, your app you're trying to create, is pretty good. So on that, your assignment 5 is due on the 17th, which, let's take a look at what day that is, right? The 17th is Sunday, this Sunday. That doesn't make any sense. Sorry. And let me tell you why it doesn't make sense. This weekend is Easter weekend for some people, and Sunday is Easter Sunday. It's not fair for me to assign something that's due on Easter Sunday. So we're going to push that out to Monday. Okay, so your assignment is going to be due on the 18th. On Monday, it'll give you an extra day. Hopefully it won't clash with anything else that's happening, because I know other people are also pushing you to do that, but let's get that changed. So under your assessments, I'm just letting you know this, your assignment frameworks part 2, right? We're going to make it so that your due date is now officially Monday, because it's not fair for me to make it Sunday for some of you. Okay, Matthew, can you hang out afterwards? I'd like to talk to you about that. So yeah, and then the end date would be the Wednesday. So I mean, worst case scenario, like, you know, if you can't, you know, you should be able to present on the Wednesday. So the Wednesday itself, this is something interesting. The Wednesday is also when your final presentation is due. So your final presentation is, what I'm looking for there is, there's a bunch of pieces that I need you to do. I need a PowerPoint slide deck, or some kind of slide deck with a formal presentation that you're going to put on. I don't want a random ad hoc presentation from you guys, okay? What that means is it has to be organized, and all the pieces that I've asked for, I want, okay, for those things. So let's take a look at the presentation requirements one more time, please, because it should have everything in it that I'm looking for. Okay, so presentation requirements are embedded in the presentation. Okay, and let's take a look at that, the documents that I'm looking for here for a second. So it's assignment 2, part 3. This is the final presentation. I talked about this with you before, right? But basically, working with your team, you're going to make a slide deck. You should make a presentation that's no more than 10 minutes. You're going to be rated on the quality of your materials, presentation materials, your style, timing, clarity, volume, comfort with what you're talking about, the quality of your demo, whatever you're making. And because this project the component replaces your final test, each team member must be present for the presentation to get credit. Okay, that's not something that you can just like not show up or whatever. So if someone's missing out from the video, like I know I had people who submitted their last assignment 4, and they're like, well, this person couldn't attend because they had problems. I'm sorry, but it's required. You guys have to be there. You have to be part of it, right? So if it's like that for your final presentation, people that aren't there won't get credit. Okay, I'm just letting you know. Okay, so what I'm expecting for next week, right, because there's not that many groups, is every group is going to present. I'm not, you know what, Walter, I don't want you guys to do a code review, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm looking for your final, show me your demo it. Let's talk about it. I'll ask the questions. Maybe you'll have a chance to demo it live and talk about the code. But what I'm really looking for is, what I'm looking for this one is, show me your presentation of the demo live. Like, I want to see it work, you know, kind of thing, if possible. So that's what I'm looking for there. So again, first slide again should be your name and your app. You know, some optional is team name and team logo. Sometimes you may not have a team name and team logo. You know, that's fine, because maybe you don't have a team or some kind of thing. Roles. Everybody has to have an image of themselves on the shot on that second slide. Please, again, make it so that it looks good. So I don't want skewing images or anything else. Make it professional. Influences. When you created your app, you know, as an example, what apps did you research to make this app? So that's what I'm looking for. Talk about your app overview at a very high level. So what frameworks did you use? You know, that you selected. Were you using UIKit or Swift UI? And the general concept, that's like one or more slides. You can have some slides in there, more than just one slide. Talk about your app design. Some of the stuff that came from UI UX document that I've asked you for, things like your colors and the stuff that you decided. Show me your 2 designs. Why did you choose to make the second design or the first design over the other ones? There should be 2 designs. People did not submit 2 designs for their first assignment or assignment 4, which is, again, surprising and a little bit, I don't know, I guess disappointing to some degree. Target audience, who did you design this app for? Is it for everybody? Is it for young people? Is it for old people? Who is it for? You know, as an example. You know, so what's the target persona? And when you look at the persona, start thinking about who is the average user? Who's the person that's going to use this thing? Do your app demo. So actually you can do two things. You can embed the demo video in there, and you can use a pre-recorded video for your demo. So if you're someone who's not great at presenting, if you're presenting alone, or if you think that it's better that you pre-record your video presentation, I'm totally fine with that if you want to pre-record your demo, right? But even if you do, you need to be ready and able to answer any questions from anybody here in the class, as well as myself, of course, when it comes to your app, especially coding questions. If I ask you a question like something, show me the code that you used, you know, for this particular framework. Talk to me about difficulties and those kind of things. So you should be able to talk about your app. Okay, so that's the stuff I'm looking for. So there's two more slides. There's a lesson learned slide, which is you know, discuss the challenges you had to overcome and the things that you would do differently when you're approaching the same kind of app, and future possibilities. If you could take this thing further, what would you do? How would you do it? Okay. So that is your actual, you know, your slide deck. So your slide deck is required. Okay. It's not an option. If you come prepared next week with no slide deck, you will lose half of your marks, all right, in terms of of your final presentation. I need organization for next week. All right. So I know you guys are not shy to it, and you know how to do it. So please make sure you do it this time. There were some people, the reason I mentioned this is because there were some people that I've seen don't start off with their presentation with a slide. They don't introduce themselves. You know, this is stuff that I've asked for every single time, and people don't do it. So I'm asking for you to do it finally. Please make sure you do it right. Your short video must have your presentation, you know, that you're talking about. So don't just go right into making your demo. Your video that I'm asking you to make is a separate video that basically is just in case something happens, internet's down for us, you can't make it because of a medical issue, I can't make it because of a medical issue, something happens or whatever next week, you still have everything pre-recorded and you can submit it for next Wednesday. That's what it's for, right? It will also include a demo. So there's two parts to the video. You're actually doing your presentation as a practice. And the second part is the demo of the app. The demo of the app is something that you're going to do, you know, as well. And so what I'm saying is, let's suppose next week you're starting to present and there's going to be a time when you get to the demo. And instead of you having to screencast your app, set it up, make sure it's working properly and whatever, it takes a lot of time to do all these things, right? You can record a video then saying, look, here it is. And, you know, in the video you're talking and you share your sound and we can see it live, right? So you can see what it would look like. Sometimes that's a lot better if you pre-record something than if you do it live, because sometimes live video of a prototype can be quite challenging. It can look really weird and not work properly. So, and then it would be, you know, unfortunate. It's like, okay, well, my app doesn't work, it broke or something. We don't want to see that. We want you to see your, you know, kind of a good version of your app. So that's what you're doing. Videos for the entire thing, that's including your demo and the slide deck, should be no more than 10 minutes. We have 3 hours next week. I think we have plenty of time or 4 hours. We have plenty of time to get things done. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for every single person and their group to present. Right now, when it comes to presentation, I only need one person in the team to present. It doesn't have to be every single person in the group, but they need to be present. Everyone should be here next week because I want to know what everyone did. I may ask people, so what did you do? What part did you do? What part did you play in the app? You can stop those questions from coming in the roles slide. Talk about what you did, right? So what is your development role? Did you do the user interface? Did you do the backend? Did you do the planning? Did you do what did you do? Right, kind of thing. So that's something that you could do in your role slide. And it probably will stop me from asking the questions if I have the information, right? So that is what's happening. But please keep this in mind. Each team member must be present for presentation for you to get credit. If you're not present, no credit, Okay, that's how it's going to work next week. I don't want to be difficult like that, but it is taking the place of your final exam. It's worth 15% of your final grade. So it's not a small amount. It's equivalent to any one of the other pieces that you've done. So please make sure that you take it seriously. Questions around the final presentation. That's why I brought it up again, because I want to make sure that I answer your questions. It should be live. So what I'm saying live means that if you show up, Alvin, and let's suppose you want to play a recorded version of your presentation live, you have to be there live. You can say something like, okay, professor, I'm ready to go. And then you press the button and then we hear you're there. We're seeing it live, right, that day. That's what I mean by live. But you could have pre-recorded everything that, before the video. So you could use the same video that you're going to submit to me that night and present that video. But I may ask you to stop, go back, do all this kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Live means you have to be here, is what it means. Okay. Any questions around the presentation that's due next week? Again, super important. It's the last time we're going to see each other. Chances are, at least for a while. And it's the final day of class, and it'd be fun to see everyone's stuff working. Again, if you don't show up, people don't show up, and there's a reason why you're not showing up. I'm also going to put an announcement up here that it's mandatory for you to show up for your final presentation. Okay. So hopefully it's not going to throw you off. If you have work plans or something else or whatever, please make arrangements to be here, because that's what I'm asking you to do for next week. Okay. 2C. Yes. So exactly. So in the video, you're going to be describing your app's code and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, for the presentation, this piece right here, don't do it here. That is just, presenting your stuff. And then in the video demo, you're going to talk about your code. You're going to do it and keep your code talk. I would keep your code talk succinct and to the point. So you don't have to discuss everything. Focus on your frameworks. Focus on the 2 frameworks that we're looking at, right? Like, for example, we know how to put together buttons and those things that are obvious that we've been doing over the entire semester or even last semester. You don't need to describe those things, but you could certainly describe things like, well, we use the map framework, and here's the, a couple of functions that we needed to use to connect to the map framework. And this is how we use them to do this part. Then move on to the next framework, like that fast, And here's the function that we use to connect to this. This is the framework we use for, as a health tracker, as an example, we're tracking your the number of steps you're taking or whatever, a step tracker. And these are the functions you use to do that with, with the accelerometer and on the phone and so on. And you talk about those 2 functions, and that's it. And then you move on. Nice thing to do is if you want to, let's say there's 2 of you in your group. I'm just mentioning this, or 3. If there's 2 of you in the group, you can say one person talks about one framework, one person talks about the other framework. Or if you just want one person to present everything, that's okay too. I'm okay with that. If you're whoever's the most comfortable. So to make it the most awesome presentation, they're the people that should be presenting. But if you feel, both of you feel comfortable and you guys are a good team, as an example, in your group, Walter, then you can both share the presentation. It's totally fine. You can do everything live if you want to, or you can do parts of it recorded. It's totally up to you. Okay. And I'm giving you this leeway because I want to make it so that it's not oppressive. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's a terrible presentation I had to do for Tom or whatever. It's not like that. It should be, hey, this is my product. Take a look. What do you think? And imagine you're trying to talk to your product with a client. Like, well, how would you feel talking to a client like this? How would they feel about it? That kind of stuff. Okay. Content video for assignment 5, that is specific for your assignment 5. So show me your persistence. That's what I'm looking for, right? So that's what you're focusing on. Assignment 4 and assignment 5 videos are different, okay, than the final presentation. Assignment 4 and assignment 5 video. Assignment 4 should have been on your user interface and your main functionality. Assignment 5 should be on your data persistence and how it links to your main functionality and any kind of code examples. And your final presentation is, okay, now I'm demoing the entire thing and I'm focusing on my 2 frameworks, right? As an example, and here's why I did it, how I did it, and those kind of things. Deck and demo, all 10 minutes. Yeah, for sure. Everything 10 minutes. That's why I'm saying keep it short. And again, I'm using 10 minutes as a guideline. I'd like to try and keep within 10 minutes for everyone, because then when it goes beyond 10 minutes, like 10 or 15 or 20, it becomes very long and people are watching. It's hard to watch more than 10 minutes, for people. We'll probably have, if everyone presents next week, we'll probably take a few breaks too, because I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to take a break and whatever. Okay. Also next week, what I'm going to try and do is mark you on the spot. So if we talk about stuff, I'm going to be up online and I'm going to give you your mark right there. Okay. So that you know how you did for your final. Okay. Any other questions around the final presentation before we go into the workshop that I want to do today? All right, so if there's no other questions, so what kind of documentation do you need, right? And how do you do it? And what do I mean by presentation materials? Because sometimes people are confused. They're like, wait, what do you mean presentation materials? I just put together a theme and I threw it together. Okay, but talk about this stuff. Look at this app overview and concept. It says 1 or more slides. That means you can split things up. Okay, so stuff that I'm looking for your, this is the workshop piece. Stuff that I'm looking for your presentation. When you make a presentation, guys, I don't want to see wall of text. A wall of text with presentation, stuff like that, like things that you're, like from a book or something like that, is not what I'm looking for, okay? Maximum bullets should be about 3 per page, max 4, 3 or 4, let's say. I want you to have images from your app. I want you to have images, kind of accompanying your presentation. It's not going to be just words, okay? That's number 1. So your presentation should have a mix of images and content, but no more than 3 or 4 bullet points per page, which means if you want to add more pages to spread your discussion out, you can do that. On average, each page should take about 30 seconds to a minute when you go through your presentation. Okay, so if you have 10 minutes presentation, that means maximum slides should be about 20, max. Okay, that's if you did everything 30 seconds. On average, you should have 1 minute per slide. That's what it should be, 1 minute, 1 slide. So that means that you need to reserve some slides, some time for your demo. If I'm asking for 1, 2, 3, obviously you're gonna do your title page, hello, my name is, and this is my team members, and this is what we're building. Here are my roles. That took like less than 10 seconds. Here are my roles. We've got our team members. Hi, this person did that, and he was great at doing this. This person did that. He was great at doing this. This person did that, and she was amazing at doing this. And this person did that, and she was incredible at doing that. And we worked together to build. That's number 2. And we worked together to get this app. Here are the influencers we looked at. We looked at these a few apps in the App Store. We did a bit of an analysis about what works really well with the apps that are in the industry today, and we found that this was a gap. We wanted to explore using this kind of framework, as an example for this app. And so these are my influences. These are the apps that I saw, right? Okay, and now let's talk about my app. Now, this is where you need 1 or more slides, right? Because look, I've gone through and maybe spent 2 minutes on the first 3 slides, right? So now you still have 8 minutes, let's say, for you to present. You probably want to give your demo 4 or 5 minutes, like actual 4 or 5 minutes to talk about. That means that's this slide right here. The demo slide right here should be about 4 or 5 minutes right there. So that means you have very quick, you're going to run through this pretty quick. Lessons learned can take a minute, and so can your future possibilities. But again, you want to time it so it's about around 10 minutes, give or take. Most likely 10 and up, slightly higher than 10. it's okay. But if you go to 20 or 30, don't plan your presentation for 30 minutes, guys. It's too long. All right. So try and target as much as possible 10. And what that means is don't do ad hoc speaking. Don't go to your presentation and just randomly talk what you feel like you're going to talk. Sometimes it's better, especially if you're not a native speaker, to script your presentation ahead of time. So each slide, you should have some notes for your slide. And in your slide, your notes view, you should be able to talk to your notes. Like sometimes reading your notes is okay, but what your notes say and what the presentation is showing could be different. Presentation might have 3 bullet points, but your notes could have a minute of talking, right? And the minute of talking that you're going to do in your notes, try and keep it as succinct and, to talk about what you're about your presentation. Sometimes what I do, if it's a large presentation and I only have 20 minutes, as an example, I literally say stuff like, "Hi, my name is," and I literally read that stuff because it's easier for me to do that. So to keep myself on track. The ability for you to record your presentation ahead of time gives you a chance to practice and see how close you come to that 10 minutes. So if you don't practice your presentation, you won't know if you're going to be outside of that range. You need to do it. That's why I've given you the opportunity to do that by asking you to make a video, right? And making a video with your partner, if you're going to present with 2 people or 3 people, is really essential because switching between one person and the other takes time. So you actually lose more time when you have more presenters. That's typically how it goes. Imagine that you only have 10 minutes to talk about your prototype, your demo. You want to talk about certain things that everyone's been asked to talk about, and you need to show your demo in less than 5 minutes. How are you going to do it? You need to have it all queued up and ready to go. You need to have everything ready to present, and that takes planning. That's what it takes. Okay, it's not going to be random. You're not going to come up and then suddenly, you're going to talk about stuff and it's going to be okay. It may not be as effective unless you script everything out and practice. Practice means going through the entire presentation the entire time and trying to keep within that 10 minutes. And then adjusting your notes, like actually sitting there and adjusting it, almost like cue cards that you would read to someone if you were live. And then practice so that you're comfortable with the words that you've written down. Sometimes we tend to stumble over words if we've only written them or read them the first time. So that's the thing that you want to do. So crafting your presentation is an art, okay, believe it or not, and it makes a huge difference in you trying to sell your concept and your ideas to other people for the first time. So that's why I'm asking you guys to take this seriously when it comes to this stuff. Have it ready. If you're using some kind of app design framework, as an example, make sure your presentation looks nice. Make your presentation a custom theme. Don't pull a theme down from a standard theme from PowerPoint. Those are boring. Everyone's seen those themes. Make it your own. That takes time to craft and everything else, but it makes a huge difference when you have your own theme that is all about your app. For example, you're making an app that's a health app. Your presentation could be designed or have a theme that has the same colors as your app, that has the same style, maybe some icons that your app uses on every page. Your presentation represents your ideas. And so that's why it's important for you to do it. And that's why I'm looking for that, right? So first thing is your materials. So how you put it together. And the other part is how you present. So script it, like I said, practice it, and make sure it works. And then it comes to your demo video. Let's talk about that a little bit. When it comes to your demo video, show off all the parts of your app. All right. So if I've asked you to put together a option screen, show the option screen, show the start screen, show your splash screen that comes up in the beginning. Have an average user use the app, right? As if you're presenting this as a marketing video. All right. That's what I want you guys to do. If I was going to see your app being demoed, I want to play your app. I want that app. Okay. When you talk to your code in the app, succinct and to the point. The 2 frameworks is what I'm looking for. And if you have time, persistence, because we've already done persistence before last semester, right? So we know that you know how to use Firebase. We know that you know how to use, those the technologies that you're going to use to save your data and retrieve your data. So that I'm not as interested on those things as I am about the two frameworks you've decided to use and why they are using those frameworks. So please make sure you focus on that stuff. And then at the end, you're going to have some kind of thank you slide. You should have a thank you slide. Thank you very much. Any questions, right? And this is where what I want from all of you when you're attending next week, ask questions, because the Q&A period might be 5 to 10 minutes. That's why the presentation has to be 10 minutes, so that the whole thing is 20 max, right? Because if there's, let's say, 10 groups, 20 minutes, that's like, hours, right? Almost like enough time that we taking breaks and everything else, we'll barely make it, right? So please make sure that we fit in that time. I'm going to ask you questions. I expect you guys to ask questions as well. And talk about things you like and things you don't like. When you look at somebody else's app, would you use them? And be honest, but not confrontational. All right. We don't want people to say, your app sucks. We don't want that. We want to say something like, maybe ask a question when you're doing it, like, why did you make that design choice? What led you to do that? How did you think like that? Or what other things that you use to create your application the way it looks? That kind of stuff. Ask the questions rather than, tell them that it's terrible, right? And if you really feel it's terrible, say, I'm surprised that, that you didn't put the button over here, or you didn't do this, or, wow, I'm surprised that this doesn't function this way, or whatever. It's kind of like saying, okay, why is this broken? Kind of thing. Here's the question. What about if your app doesn't work on presentation day? Well, that's why you record it ahead of time, right? And you should know way ahead of time. Don't wait to the last moment to record and to submit your app. That's why I gave you Monday to get it done completely. And then you have Tuesday and Wednesday to make your presentation, test it out, demo the app, and submit it, okay? So that's why it's kind of a tight timeline, as next week is the final week. Any questions around the stuff that I've just talked about now? So I've seen a lot of apps, and I've seen a lot of presentations over the years, tons and tons of them. And some people have actually gone and made it on the App Store, which is pretty cool. Or they've put it on Google Play, if they're making an Android application. And this is for everything from games to different kinds of apps that they've made that are business type apps, or health apps, or medical apps, or whatever they've done, which is really cool. So the best presentations are the ones that are fully prepared, that you've taken seriously. And it's a skill. It's a true skill when you come out of it to do it right. And it's the difference between you selling your app and people buying it, almost like that little, when you see a game and you see a little demo video for the game, right? It's the same thing for your app. If I can see your app being demoed, I see some example screens like on the App Store, and I can run a video and see what you do in it, almost like a little animated GIF. Awesome. And by the way, on that, including animated GIFs inside of your presentation is a good thing. Okay, it's an actual good thing if you see some stuff inside your presentation. Anything that's in your presentation that's going to cut down on the demo part, so you can make it shorter and we get a sense of what it's going to do. Because remember, at the end of the day, even if you spent half a semester working on this thing, it's still a prototype, guys. There's still more things you can add. There's still more things you can improve. I don't expect it to be ready to deliver on the App Store tomorrow. Okay, I don't expect that. What I expect is for you to meet all the requirements and to be intuitive and sensitive to the design of the app and this functionality. All right, it's got to be both things. So that's something. So when it comes to your presentation value and so on. And the other thing is when it comes to your app's delivery, a lot of times what I find is, if you're lucky enough to have someone who has a design mind, someone who's got this idea, they use, they're good with Figma or some other tool. They've put together, a good set of designs, and you've adhered to the designs. That's good. One of the things I'm also looking for that I'm going to ask questions for is these last two slides, right? Which is, your lessons learned slide. What did you learn? Did you learn anything by using, this, by creating this app with two frameworks? There should be something. There should be challenges that you will have to overcome, because one of the things that I've actually got you to do, this is the third Hello World app that I normally build. Okay, I told you what I built. I build a calculator, some kind of to-do list last semester, a game. I try and make a game with the framework, and then I do some kind of framework app where I kind of build. I take a couple of frameworks and smash them together and make something. And if you can do those four things, over the last two semesters, guys, you start understanding how to make things work in iOS. All right. And if you can't do those things, right, then there's holes in your knowledge, right? Because you don't know how to do persistent data, you don't know how to use a framework. Making a game is important because it's one of the places we make money when we create apps on the App Store and those kind of things. Or even there's a lot of interest in games nowadays still for the stuff that we're doing. Things that are important is most people, by the way, when you submit your video, I can hear you, that's good. And I can see your screen. Sometimes the screen's a little bit, the recording's pretty bad, but I can see what it looks like. Test your recording out, like actually look at it afterwards. Make sure, go through it again, even if you spend time putting it together. If you and your partner were recording separately, and sometimes that's what happens, like 2 people or 3 people record separately and they smash it together. They go, okay, Tom, take it away. And then the other person goes. I've seen that today as well when I was marking, and I was like, okay. And then one person's recording is super loud and the other person's recording is like super quiet. And it's like, they didn't watch the recording. They didn't watch the whole thing, or maybe they ran out of time or whatever. So that's an issue. Watch your stuff. If your thing seems really, really quiet and you pass it off to your partner to combine into one big recording, it's going to be bad. It's not going to look great, especially with the final presentation. Can you imagine you're presenting something and it's just us right now? There's only, let's say, 30 of us or whatever. Okay, but what if it was 300 of us, right? Looking at your app. Can you imagine if your app sound went from like really great to terrible, right? Don't do that. All right, make sure that everything is consistent as much as possible, which means sometimes one presenter. It might mean you have to take more than one take, do it more than one time, so that it sounds good, right? And so those are the two things that I'm looking for, and then the ability for you to understand what I've asked you. Because the last two slides, the last one, which is future possibilities, where are you going to take it further? If I was going to if you were going to make this app, if you had more time, what would you do? What's missing that you would add? What would you remove that I've asked you to put in? Those kinds of questions are the kinds of questions you should ask. Because again, this is, like I said, a culminating presentation where it kind of caps off everything that we've done for the entire semester, as well as some concepts we talked about last semester. So, now at this point, by next week, if you think about it, and we're only 1 week away from this, you've worked with Android technologies, iOS technologies, web technologies. You've done UI, UX for the most part. You've been working in groups throughout the entire time and on your own. Again, like huge amounts of learning in a very, very short time. So the expectation is that your final presentation and the final app that you're making is going to be good. Okay. All right. Any questions around that stuff? Okay, now I'm going to move on to the next piece, if there's no questions. And the next piece is, does anyone have anything that's ready for you to show me today, right? Because I want to be able to give you feedback on your second piece, part 2, before next week. All right, so that way, if we have to make any corrections, now is the great time to do it. And if you're ready to show me your stuff, I'd be happy to look at it with you. But it's got to be as a group, please. Don't ask me to look at it afterwards, as an example on your own. I want you to share, because it's your practice, I want you to share everything as a group with everybody else, okay? So everyone give you feedback, like how you're doing. Nobody's ready for assignment 2, part 2. That's what I'm basically hearing. Is anyone close? Because we're sitting on Wednesday and it's due next week. Absolutely. Okay, that's interesting too. Let's go with Ashkan first. Ashkan, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to give you the ability to share your screen. So go ahead. If you want to do that, take over. Let's see what you got. And then we'll go in. I'll try and answer your question, Akash. Hey, we can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Hi, Professor.
There you are. Yeah, I
Here
can hear you
is
now.
the mobile phone. It's our application. I just want to take some feedback from you. So
Sure.
here is as you see here, here's the icon of the application. When I open the application, it's already logged in, but it includes it's generally for, imagine you have a shop, you want to sell your products such as a table, I don't know, cups or a kettle or something like that.
Yeah.
Here's the part. You can see the offers here. Actually, we hadn't add an option to touch each of the offers and navigate to a screen, but the application at first includes a simple social media, which is if it was a previous days, it's going to show the time, and if it's going to be now, which I'm going to show you, it's going to show show the exact time of now. For example, I don't know, 7:14, and also here you can see the products. For example, I can add by 1 cup, a teapot, and red chair. And when I touch the cart button, I'm going to navigate to a screen to see these items with their total value. Also, I can remove, for example, a teapot here, which is the total value is going to change. We haven't add Apple Pay because we had to make a Apple developer account, and it's going to cost a lot, but maybe for future works. And in the back screen, there's other option in the setting, which is about us, help, and also the contact us option, which is the using the message UI. For example, I can send an SMS to my teammates like Srimastri, say hi, and she's gonna get the message. And also there is an email option as well, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. I'm gonna do the sign up later. The other option is the post. For example, I can post, hi, I am Ashkan, and touch the upload post. And in the other screen, I'm gonna see, hi, I am Ashkan 1950, which is now. And the other part is the reality part, which is the augmented reality part. For example, I can locate, for example, a cup on the ground, which is here. And if you zoom into it, it's going to get larger, and also its location is not going to change. Also, the yellow part is going to show the surface, so it can detect the surface as well in every other parts as well. And yeah, in the setting, I can also sign out and create an account. For example, Ashkan @gmail.com. The password is going to be, for example, 23456. I can choose a profile picture, for example, here, which is me. And then I can touch the create account. I think this account is already created. Let me try our account as well. All right. All right. It's not going to show the password, but in my phone screen is showing. I don't know why, but now I create a new account. And if I send a new post, hello, okay, like that, upload the post, it's gonna show the new post with new account, but it's gonna take a little while to upload the, okay, now it's uploaded. And here is the new message, and it's used our ARKit and the message UI as 2 frameworks that we require to use. And I would like to hear about your feedbacks about the application and any possible changes that you think is going to be useful for this application.
It's
Thank you.
interesting. Thank you. It's interesting that you chose those two. The messaging and AR kit. Like it's different, definitely interesting. The AR kit, I like the fact that you're trying to make a product so that way you can you can see the product, what it would look like live. That's kind of a good idea. It's a common idea that people have been looking at. You try and buy a product. I think it's coming for Amazon, where you try and buy a product from Amazon, you select the product and you use your phone and you look over here and then all of a sudden you see the product that you want. It's coming, those kind of things. So things like what you're doing, people are looking for it. I'm telling you, it's coming. And it's something that we want to see because we want to see the product in our homes. We want to see the product on our bodies and all that kind of stuff. So I think the idea that you're going to use AR for that kind of thing, which is it's not new, but it's good, is really good for you to practice. So that I'm really happy with that part. The messaging piece is interesting. I'm just trying to figure out how it ties in with your app. So the social media part, the post part, and the way you're messaging, how did you envision that would tie in with the AR part? That's the part that I'm trying to connect with.
Yeah, actually, the main concept for that, because we haven't succeeded to implement all of the application for now, it's just about contact us, I mean us like me. But in the future, we may, maybe we can add, a screen for each of the products. And when you navigate to each products, then you can have a contact us option and also follow them. That's going to be, I think, an appropriate way because you can see the product. I mean, see each of the shops. Now it's just for one shop, but maybe in future it's going to be different shops, and you can see the shops' products. You can contact them using the message UI framework, and also using the augmented reality. You can locate their products in your home to have a good imagination about their products, which I think. But for now, maybe it's not going to make sense a lot to use it.
Yeah, so so there's a couple ways you can change that. Like I don't think it's a bad idea for contact you, but a lot of times sending an email or messaging, if it's anonymous, it's okay, but you can also be like, it's not okay. Like if you get anonymous messages a lot, people can spam you a lot and do those things too. So maybe what you want to think about is a review system. And what I mean by that is if you post for a product, and so it's related, so you're still notifying, but you're making that post work for a particular product compared to you specific. I know there's a lot of changes you'd have to do for that, but that's probably where I would see it going if I was going to do it. So that way you can rate a product, give a review, and say, look, I really like the product, or ask questions like, and then have almost social media about that product, not necessarily the store that you're creating, right? So per product might be more useful, is what I'm thinking, right? The contact us screen is not bad. The product screen is good and big. I like those kind of things. Your items at the bottom are fairly good. Yeah, I think it's good. It's good. It's good that it's responsive. Like all those things are good. That's weird that it did that, but it's overall, I think it's I mean the concept is good, and I'm glad that your items are proportional and they look good. They're fitting on the screen. I'm wondering when it comes to adding new items, how does your app handle more than 4 items? Like, what if it was like 6, 8, 10 items? Does it scroll?
Because we already use the Swift UI and it's in the scroll view, but we haven't added so many items to just not make it complicated for debugging process. But yeah, it's gonna work. And also, but for adding the items right now, for example, the products, we just load the data from the Firebase. So we don't. It's probably maybe in the future we can make a platform for that in the website that customers can put their upload their products there, and then we just read the data from the Firebase. But for the post, not actually. We operate the CRUD options. I mean, just upload and then download them.
Yeah, so I think what you can do for the post is if you select an item, can I see, like, if you press an item,
Oh yeah,
can you get information
we
about
haven't
that
add
item?
anything. If you press it, it's not going to do anything because we haven't implement a page to have a description of item. Although we have added attributes for item like a title or description in a Firebase, but now we just can press the plus buttons and see the items in the my cart.
Are you going to implement that detail where you press a button and then get some more details about the item? Are you doing that?
Yeah, I can do it for the assignment too. Yeah.
Again, I'm not looking for a lot of details here. I mean, maybe just like a couple of lines about what this thing is about. If you press on it, like another page that kind of shows up with the item that's bigger. How do I test the item out? Like, now that can I test the item by actually pressing on the item, or do I have to actually go to like, which screen did you go to see the item? Like in AR, is
For
it
the
the reality app? Is
items,
it
actually the AR part here is that.
there it is, yeah.
For
So
example, you can scroll them and see each of the items, for example, for one shop. Now it's just for one shop. And then, for example, you can locate a gramophone, which is too big actually. Okay, that's not going to
and you said you could resize it or no?
Not actually, because I already downloaded the 3D models from the Apple website and their size was like that. Maybe I have to change the USDZ files of the 3D models, but I haven't tried on the application. I mean, on the code, Swift code, but maybe there are some solutions in the internet. I have to figure out about it.
To resize the app? Like
Resize the actually the models. For example, the gramophone was too big, which I couldn't show it because yeah.
But I'm saying from a pinch and zoom perspective, can you, is your app allow that or not? Anyway,
Not exactly, but the thing is that, for example, when I locate, for example, you see it, kettle here. If you just push the cameras near to the kettle, it's going to be zoom in, and if you push it out, it's going to be zoom out. You see, and that's the thing. For example, if I locate the cup in my room, okay. You see, because it's far from me, it's small, but if I go close to it, it's going to be bigger.
okay, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so it'd be nice if you could like change the size of the cup or whatever. I'm saying these are all things that would be nice to have. I'm not telling you to do anything right now, because the things that I'm telling you to do, like, we're sitting at less than a week, right? It's
Yeah.
a lot of work to do in a week time for you to make these a lot of little adjustments. But you know, but again, I think there's some really great things around it. So the only things that I would change is I would target my comments to go to each item. I would have an item page that has some information about it. I would also try and add, maybe, and I know this is a lot of work, but maybe try and add 2 more items. Okay, and here's why. So that way it goes off the screen, so you can show that it scrolls, so that your app can hold 8, 10, 12, unlimited, however many you want. But if you had 6, at least you would show that, you can go to that app, you can see the item in the screen, because that's what people are going to be looking for. Can your app take more items? Future things, future possibility that you may want to write about in your future possibilities are things like, I want thumbnails for each item. So smaller items, smaller images, where I can see a lot more in one page. I want filters, so these are all future possibilities. I don't expect any of this stuff for you to do, by the way. Filters, so that way you can filter on the item alphabetically, that you can filter in the item type. Is it furniture? Is it a kitchen item? Is it a music item? Or is it something that's an antique? Whatever, like some kind of category that you can filter on, and those kind of things. That would be future fit, things that you want to be able to, kind of produce. And if you can show those things, people are looking for that stuff. I mean, I know when I look at Amazon, or some other kind of shopping app, I'm always trying to figure out, how can I filter to find, out of the thousands of items that they have, the one that I'm looking for, right? So searching and that kind of stuff, the search feature is something that is hugely important. So if you don't have that, that would be something that you want to do as a future option. I recommend that you think about that as a future fit. But otherwise, I think your idea is really great. The fact that you're trying to combine these two things, so I think it's and there's a lot of really good things that you already have in it. So I don't think there's a lot to do in terms of the stuff that I'm asking. I'm just looking at some tweaks and some additional pages. Like again, one page per item might be nice, and with some descriptions and maybe another couple items, and that would be good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Could you readjust the post to go to the item and give a review? Probably not at this point. I think it's probably too difficult, right? But if you can, great.
Yeah, I'm trying to do my best. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't. Again, it's a lot,
No, actually, that was.
but it's. I don't expect it. Right?
No, thank you. No, I'm gonna
Okay.
try to
And
do it.
anyone else? Because I'm really excited about it. I think it's a great idea. Anyone else have any other comments, or they want to come on the mic and talk? Because I think there's some feedback we can give before next week, because I want to see what it looks like next week after we give you the feedback, right? So.
Sorry, the picture is sometimes not gonna load because of the Firebase. It's a little slow
Fine.
internet. Yeah.
And those here's another thing. Those images here, the special offer and all this kind of stuff, are they supposed to represent like an ad, or what are they're supposed to represent?
Actually, they're supposed to represent the offers. For example, for a chair, there is a 20% offer, so it's gonna put the chair's picture with 20% number on the picture, and then but we haven't implemented now, but when user touch each of the items, can navigate through a screen to buy it, or just add it to their cart. But for now, it's just a simple scrolling.
A little carousel. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's all good. I think it's really great, and it does what I've asked you to do. So other things are the time. It looks like your time is like go back to that to your
Sure.
your post again. Yeah, so you have your time date format. You may want to, like, some of it is 12th April 2022 and the other one is 1915, right? So try and come up with a consistent way of showing your timestamp. It could be maybe a smaller text if you can. Although you're showing email here, which is your email, you may want to instead, because email is kind of intrusive. Again, I'm just being honest. Like if I had your email, and if it was a real email, I would, you're exposing your email to everybody. It's a security issue, but a username is okay. A username is okay, right? So if you can show your username there, the person whose profile's name it is, that's okay, right? But an email, I don't recommend. I don't recommend email, right? So some kind of username and a date stamp, a date timestamp, and the date timestamp should be consistent throughout the entire time. Like for example, even something like Wednesday, April the 13th, 2022. It could be something like April 13th, 2022. 1931. Kind of thing as an example, and it'd be small enough that you could see it. You could also make the time and the date on different lines. It's up to you, but it's got to be something where it's consistent and it doesn't take up a big portion of your post. Can you also post images or just text?
And now it's just a text, but I can add images option. It's not going to be challenging. Yeah. Now it's just a simple text view. Just you can type.
Fine. Yeah. No, I like it. I like the text view. It's just, again, there's a lot of stuff that you can do.
Yeah. But yeah, in the future.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Anyone else want to share their stuff? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your recommendations.
Yeah, no problem, Ashkan. Good stuff.
Thank you.
We had another question. So Akash, you said you had a question about the Vision Kit and how it works on iPhone, and you want information about how to demo it. Well, it really depends on what you're using the Vision Kit for. So can you talk about it a little bit or show us your app?
Me? Yeah. Oh, I can show you the codes of the ARKit part.
No, you, Akash.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, you did a great job. I'm gonna ask you about code next week. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Professor. So basically, it's for OCR, the vision kit.
Sorry, say that again.
It's for OCR.
Okay, OCR. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're using OCR. Are you going to, do you have an iPhone to do this, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I have it.
All right. So screencasting might be the best way to do it. So I
Okay.
recommend something like Reflector 2 as an app,
Okay.
which is a pretty good app. I'm not sure if you've seen Reflector 2. And Reflector 2, what it does is it allows you to screencast everything and show everything from your app. So screencasting from your app to your machine when you're demoing, that's what you really want to do as much as possible, screencasting, because then you can do your OCR or whatever and pick up the the characters that you're looking at with the vision framework. That's how I would do it.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Okay,
great. Okay, so let's get back to the stuff that we've been talking about here. So, questions for you guys is everyone clear on what I'm looking for? I think that's the main thing. Are you guys clear on the requirements and the things that I've asked you to do? And if you are, that's great. I want to make sure that you guys are good. Okay, well then, if there's no other questions or if there's no issues, that's really what I wanted to focus on today. I wanted to focus on what you're going to be doing. Again, if you want me to give you feedback, this is a great time for us to do that because you and I are together now, and I'm going to see you again, next week. But I was hoping to see more of your apps being demoed here, so that way, I can give you feedback like I did Ashcan. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So is no one else ready to do that? If you're not ready, it's okay. No problem. Okay, guys. Well, that's really what I wanted to talk about today. Please follow through with you and your team. Please use the time you have, even right now. Because you're here together, you and your teammates are here. Start putting together your PowerPoint presentation. Start thinking about what that's going to look like, and how you're going to focus on the kind of the technology that you've put together. Sometimes it's really great if you can organize yourself way ahead of time to talk about stuff, and then it's a skill that you can practice, especially if you're not a native speaker. It helps a huge amount for you to do it. Okay, so I highly recommend it. I would do it if I was going to try and speak in another language, and so on. I would definitely 100% practice and talk to people and see what they think and all that kind of stuff way ahead of time. So that way, my presentation would be as best as I could make it. Okay. Okay. Just on that point, I have one person to speak to in a breakout room, but that's really it for me today. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to seeing your stuff next week, guys, for Wednesday. And again, remember that the app has been the second part of your app due date has been moved away from Sunday to Monday. So you have a chance to do that. Hey, no problem. Thank you so much, Saif. I want to meet with Matthew. Matthew, if you can meet me in the breakout room. Otherwise, for everyone else, thank you so much. And we'll talk about everything next week. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing your stuff. Thank you.